A boy's fight to find his lost German shepherd, a journey of hope. A boy's unbreakable bond with his lost dog leads him into a dangerous fight for survival. Will love and determination be enough to bring Max home? You won't believe what happens next. Ryan Carter had always wanted a dog. Not just any dog, but a best friend. Someone who would always be there through every adventure, every quiet moment, every storm. On his 18th birthday, that dream came true. "Happy birthday, Ryan," his parents cheered as they handed him a small box. But it wasn't the gift he was expecting. He unwrapped it slowly, revealing a collar with a silver tag engraved with one word: Max. Confused, Ryan looked up, and then he heard it. A soft whimper from behind the couch. His heart raced as a tiny German shepherd puppy tumbled into view, his big brown eyes filled with curiosity. Ryan laughed, scooping the puppy into his arms. "You're kidding me. He's mine?" His parents nodded, and Max, as if understanding, licked Ryan's face eagerly. From that moment on, they were inseparable. Ryan and Max grew together side by side. They spent hours in the backyard playing fetch, running through fields and training together. Max was smart, sometimes too smart, learning tricks faster than Ryan could teach them. But more than anything, he was loyal. No matter where Ryan went, Max followed. "You're my best friend," Ryan often told him, scratching behind his ears. "I'll always take care of you, buddy." It was a promise Ryan believed he could always keep. But some promises are harder to keep than others. The night Max disappeared, the sky was already restless. Dark clouds rolled in, and the wind howled through the trees. Ryan had just returned from school, kicking off his wet shoes by the door. "Max," he called, expecting the familiar sound of paws rushing toward him. Silence. Ryan frowned. "Max, come here, boy." Still nothing. Something felt off. A cold knot twisted in Ryan's stomach as he hurried to the backyard. The gate was slightly open, swinging in the wind. His breath caught in his throat. Max was gone. Ryan's heart pounded as he rushed outside, his eyes scanning every inch of the yard. "Max!" His voice was sharp with worry. "Come on, buddy, where are you?" He checked behind the garage, under the porch, even inside the shed where Max sometimes napped. Nothing. The streetlights flickered as he ran down the driveway, calling Max's name into the growing darkness. His footsteps splashed against the wet pavement as he checked the park where they often played. Empty. Doubt gnawed at him. Did Max run away? Was he chasing something? Or did someone take him? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. Ryan stood in the rain, his hands clenched, into fists. Max had never run away before. He wasn't the kind of dog to wander off. A low rumble of thunder rolled across the sky. Ryan swallowed hard. Was Max out there, scared and alone? Was he hurt? His parents found him standing by the curb, rain dripping from his hair. "Ryan, come inside," his mother pleaded. "It's late. We'll look in the morning." "No," Ryan said, shaking his head. "I have to find him. He's out there somewhere. I can't just leave him." His father sighed. "We'll keep looking, son, but you need rest." Ryan knew they meant, well, but how could he sleep knowing Max was missing? Ryan spent the next hour knocking on doors, asking neighbors if they had seen Max. "Sorry, son," Mr. Peterson said, shaking his head. "Haven't seen him." The Wilsons next door were just as clueless. "We'll keep an eye out," Mrs. Wilson promised, but Ryan could tell she didn't have much hope. Desperation clawed at him. He drove to the local animal shelter, his heart hammering as he scanned the cages. "Any German shepherds brought in today?" he asked the receptionist, his voice barely steady. She shook her head. "Not today, but we'll let you know if one comes." Ryan nodded, but inside he felt like he was running out of time. Back home, Ryan sat on the floor of his bedroom, clutching Max's favorite chew toy in his hands. He should have checked the gate earlier. He should have been more careful. What if Max was in trouble? What if he was hurt? He shut his eyes, the weight of guilt pressing on his chest. "I promised I'd always protect you," he whispered. "I won't let you down." Determined, Ryan grabbed a marker and a stack of paper. He printed "Missing Dog" in bold letters, attaching Max's picture. He ran through the rain, taping the posters to street poles, shop windows, and bus stops. People passed by, some glancing at the flyers, but no one had seen Max. His hands trembled as he pulled out his phone. Social media, that's the fastest way. He quickly typed out a post. My dog Max is missing. Last seen near Maple Street. He's a German Shepherd, super friendly. Please, if anyone sees him, contact me. I just want him home. As soon as he hit post, his phone buzzed with notifications. Friends shared it. Strangers commented. But there were no leads. Ryan lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain tapping against his window. His body was exhausted, but his mind wouldn't stop. Is Max out there, cold and scared? Did someone take him? Is he trying to come home? The storm outside roared, but inside it was quiet. Too quiet. Ryan curled up under his blanket, clutching Max's empty collar. I'll find you, Max, he whispered into the darkness. I won't stop until I do. And with that silent vow, he let his exhausted body drift into restless sleep, knowing that tomorrow the search would continue. Ryan didn't sleep much that night. The moment daylight broke through his window, he was already up, grabbing tape, markers, and stacks of missing posters. His fingers trembled as he pressed each flyer against light poles, shop windows, and bus stops. Missing dog, Max. German Shepherd, friendly. Last seen near Maple Street. Please call if found. He triple-checked his phone, but no calls had come. Social media wasn't helping either. Hundreds of people had shared his post, but no one had seen Max. Frustration boiled inside him. Where are you, buddy? Desperate, he turned to something he hadn't considered before: CCTV cameras. The local gas station had a camera pointing toward his street. The cashier let him scroll through the footage, his heart racing with hope. But the rain blurred everything. Shadows moved, headlights flickered, but nothing was clear. Ryan clenched his fists. It's like he vanished into thin air. Outside, the storm worsened. Raindrops splattered against the pavement, mirroring the growing fear in Ryan's chest. Max was out there, alone, cold, maybe hurt, and he was running out of time. Still no sign of him. Jake, Ryan's best friend, jogged up beside him, his hoodie pulled tight against the wind. Ryan shook his head. It's like he disappeared. We'll find him, Jake said firmly. Come on, let's check the other side of town. Before they could leave, a voice called out from behind. Are you the boy looking for a dog? Ryan turned to see a homeless man sitting under an old awning. His face was weathered, his eyes sharp. I think I saw something last night. The man, Mr. Leroy said. A white van stopped near your house. It was real quick. Door opened, closed, then it drove off. Ryan's stomach twisted. Did you see who was inside? Mr. Leroy shook his head. Too dark, but I know trouble when I see it. A white van. Ryan glanced at Jake, his mind racing. Was Max stolen? That thought alone sent a fresh wave of panic through him. By nightfall, Ryan sat in Max's empty dog bed, gripping his puppy's favorite chew toy. The house felt eerily silent. No scratching at the back door, no excited barking when someone walked past the window. Just emptiness. Ryan's mom sat beside him, resting a hand on his shoulder. We'll keep looking. His dad knelt down, his voice softer than usual. We need to be prepared, Ryan. Sometimes... Don't say it, Ryan cut in, his voice raw. Max isn't gone, he's not. Tears burned his eyes, but he refused to let them fall. He couldn't give up. Not now. The next morning, Ryan stormed into the police station, gripping one of Max's missing posters. Please, I need to report. A stolen dog, he said urgently. Officer Daniels, a middle-aged cop with tired eyes, took the paper and frowned. You think he was stolen? Ryan nodded. A van was seen outside my house the night he went missing. Please, can you check into it? Daniels sighed. I'll see what I can do. Hours passed before a call came in. We found a van matching the description, Officer Daniels told him. Ryan's heart pounded as he rushed to the scene. But when he got there, the van was empty. No Max, no signs of struggle. Another dead end. Ryan's hands shook with frustration. It's like chasing a ghost. Then his phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I saw your dog. Call me." Hope flared inside him, but when he called, the person on the other end just laughed. "Yeah, I found your dog. In my dreams." Click. Ryan stared at his phone, his chest tightening. People were playing games while Max was out there, lost and scared. It wasn't just frustrating. It was cruel. Ryan knew the statistics. If a lost dog wasn't found within 48 hours, chances of recovery dropped drastically, and time was slipping through his fingers. He scoured lost pet websites, called every vet in town, even checked shelters. Again, nothing. Was he failing Max? Was his best friend out there waiting for him to come, but he was too late? The thought made his stomach turn. He had to do something. The next day, another call came in. "I have your dog," a voice said. "Meet me at the old train station with $500, or you'll never see him again." Ryan's heart nearly stopped. "How? Do I know you have him?" The line went dead. Jake paced the room. This could be a scam. Ryan didn't care. If there was even a chance, he had to try. They arrived at the train station, scanning the shadows, but no one came. An hour passed, then two. Finally, Ryan realized the truth. No one was coming. It was a cruel joke, a broken promise, another empty lead. Ryan clenched his fists. He was losing faith in people, but he wouldn't lose faith in Max. Not ever. That night, a new message arrived. "Your dog is in trouble. He was taken to an illegal dog-fighting ring." Ryan's blood turned to ice. Dog-fighting. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Could Max be trapped in a place like that, forced to fight, hurt? His hands shook as he called Officer Daniels. "You don't even know if it's real," Daniels warned. "And if it is, these people aren't just thieves. They're dangerous." Ryan didn't care. "If there's even a chance." "Max is there," he said, his voice steel. "I have to go." Daniels sighed. "Then you're not going alone." Ryan and Officer Daniels sat in the car, watching the rundown warehouse from a distance. "This could go bad fast," Daniels warned, his fingers tight around the steering wheel. Ryan swallowed hard. "But what if Max is in there?" Daniels exhaled. "Then we do this smart." They moved carefully, slipping into the shadows. Ryan's heart pounded as he scanned the area. Then he heard it. A bark. Faint. Desperate. Max. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. Somewhere inside. That dark building. Max was waiting, and Ryan would do whatever it took to bring him home. The abandoned warehouse loomed in the distance, a crumbling giant swallowed by darkness. The wind howled through its broken windows, and the faint sound of barking echoed from within. Ryan's breath came in short, shaky bursts as he stepped out of the police car. His hands trembled as he clenched his fists, preparing for what lay ahead. Officer Daniels placed a firm hand on Ryan's shoulder. "Stay close," he warned. "This could be dangerous." Ryan nodded, but his focus was only on one thing: Max. The swoon. Officers moved swiftly, their boots crunching against the gravel as they approached the heavy metal door. Ryan reached for the handle, his palms sweaty. With a deep breath, he pushed it open. The door groaned loudly, revealing a dimly lit space filled with shadows. The stench of filth and fear was suffocating. Rusted cages lined the walls, their occupants barely visible in the gloom. Growls and whimpers filled the air, a chorus of pain and desperation. Ryan's stomach twisted. And then he saw them. Dogs. Of all breeds, chained and caged, their ribs pressing against their thin skin. Some barked wildly, others cowered in silence. But Ryan barely noticed them, his eyes locked onto a familiar figure in the corner. Max. The German shepherd lay motionless, his once strong body reduced to a frail shadow of itself. His fur was matted, streaked with dirt and dried blood. His ears twitched weakly at the noise, but he didn't lift his head. "Max!" Ryan choked, his legs moving before he could think. Max's dull eyes flickered open, and for a brief moment, They shone with recognition. A faint whimper escaped his lips, but he was too weak to move. Ryan fell to his knees, reaching through the rusted bars. "I'm here, buddy. I found you." His voice broke. "I'm taking you home." Before Ryan could reach for the cage lock, shouts erupted from the entrance. "They're here!" a gruff voice called. Ryan's head snapped toward the noise. A group of men stormed into the warehouse, their eyes wild with fury. One of them, a tall, scarred man, spotted Max and lunged forward. "That's my dog," he snarled. Ryan scrambled to his feet, placing himself between the man and Max. "He's mine," he shot back, his heart pounding. The man's lip curled. "You got a problem, kid?" He took a threatening step forward. Before Ryan could answer, the room exploded into chaos. Police officers surged forward, shouting commands. The criminals resisted, throwing punches and trying to flee. Ryan ducked as a crate crashed beside him. His only thought was Max. He fumbled with the lock, his fingers trembling. "Come on, come on!" A sudden hand yanked him back. The scarred man towered over him, rage burning in his eyes. "I said that's my dog," he roared, shoving Ryan aside. Ryan stumbled but refused to fall. He turned, fists clenched. "You don't deserve him." Before the man could react, Officer Daniels tackled him to the ground. Ryan spun back to Max, finally managing to snap the lock open. The door creaked, and Ryan knelt beside his best friend. "I got you," he whispered, stroking Max's fur. Max, despite his pain, let out a weak whimper. His tail thumped once. Ryan felt a lump rise in his throat. "You waited for me," he murmured, cradling Max's head. Max's eyes, though tired, held trust, love. Ryan's arms wrapped around him, his own body shaking. "I won't let you go again." The fight around them blurred into the background. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Sirens wailed outside. The police had overpowered the criminals, cuffing them one by one. Officers moved quickly, unlocking cages and freeing the frightened dogs. Ryan barely noticed. Max was alive, but barely. His breathing was shallow, his body limp. "Help!" Ryan's voice cracked. "Somebody help him!" A team of animal rescuers rushed in. One knelt beside Ryan, examining Max with a trained eye. "He's in bad shape," she said grimly. "We need to get him to a hospital now." Ryan nodded, his grip tightening. "I'm coming with him." The paramedics placed Max onto a stretcher. Ryan walked beside him, his heart hammering against his ribs. As they lifted Max into the ambulance, Ryan hesitated. His legs felt like, "Lad, what if this was the last time he saw him?" Max let out a soft, breathy sound, a weak attempt at a bark. Ryan scrambled into the ambulance, grabbing Max's paw. "Stay with me, buddy," he whispered. "Please, stay with me." Tears burned his eyes, but he refused to let them fall. As the doors shut and the ambulance sped away, Ryan held onto Max like his life depended on it. He leaned close, whispering the same words over and over. "I promised I'd never leave." "Yokka." And he never would. The ambulance doors burst open as paramedics rushed Max into the vet clinic. Ryan sprinted alongside the stretcher, his heart hammering in his chest. Max's breathing was shallow, his fur matted with dirt and dried blood. His body lay limp on the stretcher, his once strong frame now frail and weak. "Please, help him." Ryan's voice cracked as he clutched Max's paw. The vet, Dr. Whitman, nodded firmly. "We'll do everything we can, but you have to wait outside." "No, Ryan started, but his mother gently pulled him back. Tears blurred his vision as he watched the team disappear into the emergency room. The door swung shut with a finality that sent a shiver through him. He was left standing in the waiting room, his hands curled into fists, helpless. Time crawled. The rhythmic ticking of the clock taunted him, each second stretching unbearably. His father sat quietly, his face grim while his mother rubbed small circles on Ryan's back. But Ryan didn't want comfort. He wanted Max. Ryan closed his eyes, his mind drifting through years of memories. He saw himself as a small boy, barely able to tie his shoes, running through the backyard with a clumsy German Shepherd puppy trailing behind him. "Come on, Max!" He had laughed as the pup tumbled into the grass. He remembered the first time Max got scared during a thunderstorm, curling up beside him in bed. The warmth of his best friend had always made him feel safe. He had promised Max back then he would never leave him. Now, for the first time, it wasn't up to him. His parents exchanged worried glances, sensing his turmoil. "Max is strong," his mother whispered. "Just like you." Ryan bit his lip, but before he could answer, the doors swung open. Dr. Whitman stepped out, her expression unreadable. Ryan shot to his feet. "Is he—" The vet exhaled. "Max survived surgery, but he's not out of danger yet." Ryan's legs nearly gave out beneath him. Relief crashed into him, but fear still gripped his heart. "He made it?" His voice wavered. Dr. Whitman nodded. "For now. The first 24 hours are critical. He's stable, but he's weak. We'll monitor him closely." Ryan didn't hesitate. "I want to see him." The vet hesitated, then nodded. "All right, but be gentle. He needs rest." The room smelled of antiseptic, the steady beep of machines filling the silence. Max lay on a soft bed, his body wrapped in bandages. He looked so small, so fragile. Ryan knelt beside him, taking his paw in his hands. "You have to fight, buddy," he whispered. "I need you." Max didn't move, but Ryan didn't let go. 2 days passed. Ryan barely left the clinic, dozing off in the waiting room, refusing to go home. His parents brought him food, but he barely touched it. Then, on the morning of the 3rd day, something changed. Ryan sat beside Max's bed, exhausted but vigilant. He had almost given up hope when a soft movement, a faint whimper. Ryan's head snapped up. "Max?" The German shepherd stirred, his eyelids fluttering open. His dark eyes met Ryan's, tired but aware. Ryan gasped. "Max!" Max's tail gave the faintest wag. Ryan couldn't hold back the tears as he cradled Max's head. "You came back," he whispered. "I knew you would." Max weakly licked his hand, his touch a silent promise. Ryan laughed, crying at the same time. "I thought I lost you." But Max was here, and that was all that mattered. Later that evening, Officer Daniels visited the clinic. He found Ryan curled up next to Max, his fingers running gently through the dog's fur. Daniels smiled. "I've got some news for you, kid." Ryan looked up. "We got them." Daniels' voice held satisfaction. "Every single one of them. That dog fighting. Ring is finished, and the dogs, they'll be taken care of." Ryan exhaled, feeling the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. Max wouldn't have to suffer anymore. Neither would the others. News of Max's rescue spread fast. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers rallied around Ryan and Max, sending messages of support. People donated supplies to help the rescued dogs. Some even offered to adopt them. The small town had come together, proving that kindness and determination could change lives. One afternoon, as Ryan walked into the clinic, a nurse smiled at him. "You and Max have inspired a lot of people." Ryan glanced down at Max, who was sitting up for the first time, wagging his tail. He smiled. He's the real hero. A week later, Max was finally strong enough to go home. Ryan opened the front door, letting Max step inside. The shepherd sniffed the air, taking in the familiar scent. Then, with a happy bark, he trotted in, his tail wagging. Ryan laughed, wiping his eyes. "Welcome home, buddy." That evening, they sat together on the porch, watching the sunset. Max rested his head on Ryan's lap, sighing contentedly. He was thinner, slower, but he was alive. And he was still Ryan's best friend. Ryan ran his fingers through Max's fur, staring at the horizon. "We made it, buddy," he whispered. Max nudged Ryan's hand, his dark eyes filled with quiet understanding. Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, I know. We always will." Max let out a soft huff, curling up beside him. As the sky faded into twilight, Ryan felt at peace for the first time in weeks. Some promises never break, and neither did the bond between a boy and his dog.